Okay, so a few of you have asked about having pictures in the background instead of just this plain background, and I thought I'd show you something that I was going to come up with. I've got this intro background here that I'm in the middle of making, and as you can see, they're just 4 pictures stacked up, and then these pictures you can adjust their position and scale and size so that they are all on the screen at the same time. Takes a little bit of doing. It does help when you've got the motion selected so that you can move the picture. I guess sometimes using these, move it a little at a time if it's trouble, and try and make a nice center. And then the rest it can hang off the edges a little bit. Bring it down a tiny bit more. If you do this, then you might want to be at 100% view so you can really see the little micro changes as you make them. And that can help you be pretty precise. It doesn't have to be perfect, but once you get all 4 of them on another sequence, I just called this an intro background and then picked 4 pictures to go on there. What that allows us to do now is to put this intro background underneath the other. Now you got to be careful because I just wiped out the text. So Control Z, put the intro background, but then this needs to be up further. You can see my intro background is actually a little long for this, so now they actually match up, and now I haven't wiped anything out as I've placed those in there. Now you cannot see the intro background with the pictures, the collage, because this still has the background turned on. And so once you turn that off, if you can see, then you realize, okay, well the title also needs to be made more legible. So we're going to change the color of the title. Well, let's just add a stroke first, an outer stroke in black, and that helps a lot. And then let me give it a shadow as well. So I'm going to go 100% opacity, 0 distance, increase the size and the spread until I get a nice glowy background. If this were white, we would still be able to read it pretty well because of the stroke. Make sure it's an outer stroke and not an inner one. So that's not too bad. I'm going to center this here, but the background is still very busy. There's so much there that the all about me part is not as visible. So let's find a couple of effects over here. First of all, I'm going to blur, and I'm just going to use a fast blur and sharpen. It's a video effect. So fast blur means it's not going to take much computing power, and it's a very simple effect over here that we can just increase the blurriness. And if you go too far, then you can't really tell what they are. If you do it just a little bit there, that helps take away the focus from the background. There is another one that I'm going to use. It's called Tint, and that allows you to take out a lot of the color, if not all of it. I'm going to drag that onto the intro background, and you can see that it tints black and white by default. And you can use your eyedropper and go over and find a black part, and then use the same thing with white and find a white part, and now we've got a fairly nice black and white image. Now this is not in black. You can actually tint it a particular color. So if you wanted to have some color in the background and have some of the picture, then if you do that, then perhaps we don't need as much of a blur. And now my text is really a lot easier to read. There's also the levels. If you remember, we used levels to make the blacks blacker and the whites whiter. Well, we can use the opposite. We can put it in here, and instead of using these, we'll use the ones underneath, and we can make it a little dimmer. Or if we want to fade it out to the lighter, we could do that as well. So now we've got a faded, tinted, blurred background made up of 4 images on its own sequence down here. And I usually start by turning off the eyeball to all but 1. Let me reset this so you can see how I did that. If I reset, this one required a lot of scaling down. And if I use motion up here in the corner, and maybe make it a little bigger. Be careful not to distort the pictures. You want them to look like their originals, not all stretched out. And so this allows me to kind of put it into the corner, and I've already done these. If I turn them back on, you can see what I was talking about, doing the very careful micro adjustments. The more pictures that are on there, the tougher that's going to become. Going back to master, then we have one more thing, which is the transitions. And I use the iris cross there, so I'm going to go ahead and do a search for cross to find it again. And I'm going to put it in between the background and, but notice how the text just disappears, so maybe I'll do the same thing here. And it actually does some interesting things. If I shorten that, you've got the words and the background doing the iris cross transition. Let's watch that in real time to get us started with the places and then the animated part here. So that's a simple background for your introduction that you can make with the resources that you already have and using a combination of some simple effects that we can put on there.